Good morning, Clarence Williams. This is another edition of Now and Then. I want to talk to you about uh, what will the court say about tariffs? What will the court say about tariffs? This is a question, and this is a big deal. Remember on April the 2nd when Donald Trump had his Liberation Day and he put tariffs on pretty much every country in the world. And he did that using a law or a Powers Act called IEFA. And he did that, that he used that particular power that he had because it gave him the more broader authority to do that other than the other laws that he could have used. And the reason why this is so important is because the U.S. Court of International Trade says that he cannot use this IEFA law in order to enact these tariffs. And so now we have a serious problem in the United States of America. And so I want to understand why and what's going to happen if the courts says that no, you cannot use the IEFA law in order to enact these tariffs. Now, the three-panel court of international affairs says, you can't use it. And then Trump went to the appellate court, and the appellate court stated and says, we're going to give you guys, somewhere around June the 9th, some in that area, in order to present your arguments to us so that we can see it, so that it's not over. And then whichever way it goes, I'm pretty sure it's going to end up with the Supreme Court. Because if Trump loses, then he's going to appeal it to the Supreme Court. And so the Supreme Court now going to have to finally make a decision. And the question is, what will the court say about tariff? This is the hinge pin. This is what uh, the whole of the Trump administration uh, uh, hinge on tariffs. Why? Because it not only affects tariffs, but it affects the big, beautiful bill. Because the big, beautiful bill is based on the revenue that comes from the tariffs. Now, you had politicians that wanted to break it up. They wanted to have just a defense bill and get that passed, economic bill and get it passed, and a immigration bill and get that passed. Trump said, "No, I don't want to do that. I want one big, beautiful bill." Now, why you think he said that? Well, Trump is, big time. And so he wants that, but he also know that we have midterm elections coming up next month in November. And he did not think that, the Republicans is going to maintain control of the House and the Senate. And so he need to get this thing done right now. And that's why he's trying to get everything done in this first year of his administration, and then fight the rest of it throughout. Now, Trump knows, and his administration know, his cabinet know that he cannot do this. I'm talking about use this particular power, this IEFA act, in order to impose these tariffs. They already know that. Even Congress knew it. The Republicans in Congress know they did not give him their authority to enact tariffs. They know that. But you don't see them standing up and saying, no, Mr. President, you can't do that because they want to be reelected also. And then they want all of these tax cuts. But tariffs is causing such a stir, such a confusing stir in the United States of America. And the promise that foreign countries is going to pay for the tariffs. Now we know, of course, we already knew, but we just decided that we wanted to go with a businessman as opposed to a black woman being the president. Even though this businessman had all of this baggage and said he wanted to be dictator on day one, telling you what he wanted to do, but still, we decided we wanted to go with him. And now everything that he said he's going to do, everything that was told us that he is going to do, he's doing it. And then now we have a problem with him because he is doing this. 2 impeachment, he's still doing it. 4 indictments, he's still doing it. 1 sexual judgment, he's still doing it. Now over 200 lawsuits. Why? Because of his over 150 executive orders, maybe 5 or 6 legislative orders, policies, laws that has gone through Congress, the lowest ever, but over 200, 150 executive orders, the highest ever. And this is his administration and the way they are doing it. And lawsuits are coming left and right. Closing departments, firing employees, restricting colleges, putting people out of the United States, immigration, just deporting them left and right, El Salvador, putting them in any place that they can take them. And then on top of that, has now a policy that says that if you will voluntarily leave, we're going to give you what was it, $1,000, 5,000, something. We're going to pay you to voluntarily leave our country, but we're going to give it to you once you're gone. Now somebody is going to fall for that. They're going to voluntarily leave. Now, in order for you to voluntarily leave, you got to first raise your hand and say, "Hey, I'm in here." you got to you got to first acknowledge that you're here, which means they have you anyway now when you say that. And even if you don't voluntarily leave now, they're gonna still put you out now because you just raise your hand. Hey, y'all, here I am. But once you get out of here, then they say they're gonna give you some money. You just wait on that. Just wait on that. Trump has been sued. He has filed at least 4 bankruptcy because he refused to do what he said he's going to do. And so now you're an immigrant and you think he's going to honor that with you? I question that. But what will the courts do? Okay. Now, this U.S. Court of International Trade says that you can't use IEPA. Not only did they say you can't use IEPA, but you have to give all of that money back that the companies have paid to import their cargo. You have to give all of that back. Millions of dollars, you have to give it back. If it goes to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court upholds what this international court says, all of that money has to be refunded. Now, we know the United States know how to refund. You've been waiting on your income tax refund. They know how to do that. But what that's going to do is further uh, hamper the signing or the approving of passing of this big, beautiful bill, because this big, beautiful bill depends upon all of these tariffs. So now you have the tariffs coming. You have Elon Musk that is closing departments, laying off people, restricting colleges. So you have all of this revenue coming in to help pay for this big old tax cut. But now all of a sudden the court says you can't use the tariffs money because you have to give all of that back. And this big, beautiful bill has already passed the House, knowing that's what's going to happen. Now they don't have that. Now it's into the Senate, and the Senate is going to do whatever they're going to do, send it back over to the House, which only passed with one vote. You think it's going to pass now? Is it going to make it to the president's desk? Will it happen before November midterm elections? We are in a pickle. This is going to really be significant. It's almost, in my opinion, it may be now more dire than what the Supreme Court said when it says that presidents have limited, uh, that they are immune. Yeah. Uh, this may be worse than that. You have given him the authority to do pretty much anything that he wished to do by saying that he is immune from doing, can't be prosecuted because that's his, he has to do it under his presidency. And then now he's doing everything. And then Justice Roberts come up and say that the court system is under attack. Well, you gave him the authority to do it. You gave him that authority. Now you're saying that what President Biden did by giving temporary protection status to all of these immigrants to come into our country and work and everything, and the court said no, he did not do that properly. So now, President Trump, you can uh, dispense with that, which gives him now legal authority to put them out of the country. Now, that's a totally different issue. Then you may not like my position on that, but I do have an opinion concerning that. But that's not what I'm trying to relate to you right now. What I'm saying to you is that this court decision is going to greatly impact what President Trump is going to be able to do for the rest of his presidency. And this is not even talking about dealing with all of these countries that he has put all of these tariffs on, that he still does not have a trade agreement with not one. We hear people talk about he has this coming and he has that coming. People just keep on believing all kind of stuff. You know, he says this, and so you say, well, yeah, you have that. Just in Philadelphia, just in Philadelphia, when he was running for the presidency, he and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden was saying, no, we object to the Japanese coming and purchasing U.S. steel. Trump said this is a bad deal and it's not going to happen. It's going to stay America. America owned. Yeah. Now all of a sudden he is in Philadelphia and he is saying that it's a joint venture between the Japanese and American company. And they're trying to frame it as it's still going to be American controlled and all of that. Listen, Everything is questionable when it comes to what Donald Trump is saying. How could you say no? I'm against it at one time, and then now all of a sudden you for it. And then people are standing out there in the audience and they are jumping up and down and hollering because he said it. How could you get people to come to your rally like that? Because people will believe anything. Well, you still have, as far as his approval, at least 40 some percent, regardless of what's going on. That's why I say midterm is not a sure thing for Democrats, because you still have people that just cannot bring themselves to vote for Democrats. No. And any vote for Republican is going to further advance what President Trump is doing. So you don't really know what's going to happen. What I'm saying to you is that this is in the courts, and depending on which way the courts go, if the court says no, you cannot use it, we are going to uphold what the international court says. Trump is cooked, and the United States of America is pretty much cooked, because you don't know what he's going to do. The stock market is cooked because he could use those other measures that's in his toolbox, but it's going to take longer to do it. But you know he's going to come out fighting. If the court says yes, you can continue to use it, that's going to further embolden him, and he's going to do everything. He's still right now talking about putting a 50% tariffs on steel coming into the United States. So Trump is just having a hard time right now, and everything is up in the air for as what is going to happen in these United States of America. So your guess is as good as mine. All I do know is that we are in for a bumpy ride. This is Clarence Williams. This is now, and this is then. Have yourself a great day. Bye bye.